Hey everyone, welcome to What's This Button Do? I'm your host Dustin, and this week we are coming to you live from the NAMM show. We're going to be showing you our best of things that we found here at the show this year. We'll see you soon.
Have you ever looked at all the gear musicians use and wonder, how does it all work? My name's Dustin, and my family and I are setting out on a quest to inspire both adult and kid musicians to create new sounds together and learn all about what it takes to produce great music. We'd like to invite you along on the journey as we explore the gear professional studios, musicians, and hobbyists use to create their art. We'll take a close-up look at the gear and ask,
What's this button do?
Hello everyone and welcome to What's This Button Do? I'm your host Dustin, and today we are going to be going over coverage of NAMM 2024. I was privileged enough to be able to travel out there last week thanks to my friends at Palen, and got a ton of pictures, met a ton of people, checked out a ton of gear, and I wanted to take a few minutes today to share with you my top 14 things that I found on the trip. And let me tell you, narrowing this down was impossible. It was so hard for me to sit here and pick out what my favorite things were. But I think I've narrowed it down to 14 that are innovative, creative, just fun things that I think everyone is going to really enjoy. So I thought we'll jump over to my photos from the trip, kind of share some stories with you and let you see what I saw. So come join me over at the computer. All right, for the most part, these are in no particular order. The last couple, I am going to save the very best for last, though, for the final four. But the rest of these, I'm not putting in any particular order. These are just pieces that blew me away, inspired me, and that I think will be really, really, really huge this year. The first one came from a source that I have been wanting to meet for years, a gentleman named Eddie Wang. And Eddie makes some amazing amplifiers up in the Northwest. I had been turned on to his amps from a friend in the industry when he made an amp called the Quantum Pro, which was a killer amp. I really wanted, I had it on my list to check out. So when I got to NAMM, I went immediately over to Eddie's booth, and you can see he has a whole myriad here. And the Quantum Pro is sitting right there in the middle of the floor. But what blew me away is this little blue amp. I plugged this thing in and it sounds absolutely phenomenal. Keep in mind, this recording was made while there was a ton of other stuff going on. It was an absolute dream to play, and the bass notes just bloomed when you played them. Now, Eddie was sharing a booth for the show with Tausch electric guitars, and I will tell you, I was not familiar with his work, but the guitars themselves, Reiner is amazing. The detail, the feel, he kind of combines the best feel of all Fender guitars with the aesthetics and the pickups of a kind of a traditional Les Paul Gibson-y kind of style. And oh my God, they sound and feel so absolutely comfortable to play. I think anybody who gets a chance should check out his guitars. Now, the next one on my list was super, super fun. I went over to the Hiwatt booth to check out some amps and got to see their new 2040 custom series. And my friends from Secret Guitars were there as well, and they were so excited about this amp. He shared a little information. Here, let me tell you about it.
This mid-range control. Yeah. It's like a different amp.
Just an insane,
I was doing research on this after I played this because I guess the pot value is just way bigger than something like on a Fender amp, you know, where it's like just really a little change.
Sure.
You could really make this thing drive more or less depending on where the mid-range is too.
Nice.
It's sick, dude. It's
And he was not joking. Now, ironically, I was not able to capture audio of this amp. There was 4 bazillion people playing. I know I got those brand new microphones to come check and record audio. But I will tell you, recording audio at NAMM is almost impossible because there are people playing to your left, to your right. And it was just dang near impossible for me to get anything. But I did get to try that out. It was a pedal platformer's dream, but you could crank that and really get it to push into some amazing, amazing noise territory. Also got to try out the new Seeker pedals. We'll talk about those in a little bit on that amp. And oh my goodness, they sound amazing. But Hiwatt's new amps, their Park amps as well were really good, but I got to say the Hiwatt really was the steal of the show on their amplifiers for me. Now, next up, I got to meet a new pedal maker for me. Now, these guys have been around for a while. In fact, several years ago, they actually won Best in Show at NAMM Nashville with a pedal called the Michelangelo. This is a company called Dophix. They make a series of pedals that are all inspired by Italian artists and Renaissance spin. But I got to let you hear them, really just to tell you about them. They have a new optical pedal that is just a modulation lover's dream. Let's listen to it.
Nice. Oh, I love that. Oh, make some noise. Yeah, you can.
I was not about to let him go without asking about fuzz pedals, and here's what he played for me.
What's your favorite fuzz?
Fuzz.
Yes.
That Dophix fuzz just absolutely blew me away. The sound, that gnarliness, the way you could get it to crunch, but still make this kind of weird blooming distortion sound. Oh, I cannot wait to get my hands on that. That was genuinely one of the coolest fuzzes I played. I mean, really one of the coolest pedals I got to play while I was at the show. And the people there were so nice. All Italian team, all their pedals are inspired by Italian painters and artists, and they were such wonderful people and such amazing products. Like, I will support them. I would love to have their entire pedal line. It was all high quality, incredibly good. I was so shocked that I had not heard of these guys. And I'm sure several people are going to comment down below like, how have you not heard them? The Michelangelo pedal won all sorts of awards, an amazing drive in and of itself with a really nice blend knob that, but they're coming out with a new pedal as well called the Medici that's going to be a combination of that fuzz with some filtering. I'm super, super excited to see what they do this coming year. Now, next up, I swung over to the booth with my friends at Noisy Clan to check them out. Always a pleasure to meet them and see how things were going. I finally got to meet them in person, which was great. They had a few new products. Now, the product I was most excited about from them was their new cage system training module. They have, I can't even describe it. I took a picture of it here. You can see it is a sliding tool where on the back of it, it has a little slider and you can move through it to find the key of the song you're in. And it actually shows you how the cage system works. And for those who aren't familiar with that, it's a way of playing with inside boxes on your fretboard and learning certain patterns on your fretboard that just makes it so much easier to learn the fretboard and learn how to play in within a certain key. And this just simplifies it, shows you exactly where to play, what notes to play when you're wanting to play a certain chord. So cool. I can't wait for everybody to see it up close. But they also added in some new colors in their decoder series, which I thought were really, really fun in their baseline decoders. But the coolest thing was they also brought out a new series of stands. And these were very unique, very clean, sleek, elegant, just elevated to the nth degree. I could see these being in every guitar shop to display the highest end guitars and especially acoustic guitars. They just had that vibe. And for people who want just something nice to be able to set your favorite acoustic or your favorite electric guitar up in your room, I would highly recommend these. I think they were absolutely gorgeous, just stunning stands, and the price points on them were not expensive for such a nice, really inspiring stand. So definitely check those out if you're in the market for a nice stand for your acoustic. They were killer. Up next, my friends at Palen sent me over to meet with Reverend Guitars. And Reverend, I think you all know, has a special relationship with Palen. Every Reverend guitar that Palen gets in, they plec and set up for you. So you get like the best of the best. Not only are you getting a great guitar at a great price, they plec it for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So you're getting a full, $200-300 setup with a, $1,000 to $1,500 guitar, which is a killer deal. But there are a lot of new styles coming out from them this year. The first thing that he showed me was some new colorways that they're doing. They're trying this kind of cool contrasting pick guard with the color on the body, and on this Cadillac green one you can see the little clay dot inlays that match the pick guard. Absolutely killer. I was so impressed by that. Then they have a couple of new signature models. The first was so much fun because it has a kill switch built in, actually 2 different kill switches. One works as a button kill switch. The second one's actually a regular kill switch, kind of like Tom Morello plays, where you can move up and down and have it go, full on sound to no sound, full on sound to no sound. So really fun, great way to play. But of course, my favorite signature out of the entire line was the Billy Corgan. They made a new version of it with a little bit longer scale, and it's designed to be played in drop D. So it comes set up, tuned to drop D, and it still got his killer pickups on it, the feel on it, but the neck, you have to feel the neck. It was so good. Now, they also added some new colors in their 12-string models. This yellow, absolutely stunning. I think they nailed that. I love that they don't just do a standard 12-string. They give you a 12-string that has some class, some difference to it. It just really makes it pop. Not very often that I actually want a 12-string electric guitar, but that one just was super enticing. It was really cool. Now, after that, I had to head over to my friends at 2 Rock to check out their booth. I've been wanting to play the Vintage Deluxe. Finally got to get my hands on that. Absolutely killer amp, and I was just blown away. I love the sound of that thing. But the thing that really blew me away at the booth and was most exciting for me as a 2 Rock fan and a 2 Rock player, one of the things that you'll experience if you've ever played a 2 Rock is they are done in a traditional wiring. So the effects loop is passive. What that means is if you plug effects into an effects loop on a 2 Rock amp, you're going to hear a massive volume drop down unless you put a boost pedal or something to kind of make up the gain that is lost by sending signal back out of the amp and bringing it back. What Eli and the team at 2 Rock have done is created a effects loop that is tube driven in a portable container that you can plug right into the back of your amp. And these things are going to retail in the mid $500-600 range. So the price point is not insane. It's a really good effective price point and a way to make your tube amps just come alive. Now, for those who don't need an effects loop, no big deal. Don't even worry about this. You can just move on, skip this part of the video. No big deal. But for those of you who do, especially like me, where I use a lot of stereo delays and reverbs, you really don't want to put those in the front of your amp. You lose something by moving the power stage through there. You would rather have your drive effects hit those preamp tubes, then let the preamp tubes do their thing and amplify and drive your sound, then send your effects out to your reverbs and delays and your modulations, come back in, and then let the power tubes bring all that together, give it its little volume boost, and just allow you to hear everything bloom together. That's the way you want to do it. And I think to get the most out of your any kind of amp that has a passive effects loop, these are going to be an absolutely genius purchase. They had one of these years ago, but it was a lot more expensive, a little bit bigger unit. These are smaller, portable, and for the price point, like I said, you just can't beat them. I'm so excited for these. Next up, we went over to my friends at Soyuz, and I know it's a little weird to hear me talking about microphones here, but I'm going to tell you, I love Soyuz mics. I use them for everything. Their 1973 mic, I think, is the best mic for miking guitars ever. I'll put it up against a Royer any day of the week, and it's less expensive, and the quality is outstanding. But their vocal mics, their tube mics, their pencil mics, they're all just absolutely killer. So I went up there to see my friend Kenny at Soyuz, and he had some exciting news. The first thing is they are releasing a new FET microphone that is actually a 4-directional microphone that is essentially 4 pencil mics set up in perfect harmony. So you get this amazing ambient mic that is going to just blow people away. Cannot wait to use this in person. I think there's going to be so many different effects to be able to capture a surrounding sound, and I'm so excited to hear this in action. It looks absolutely amazing. And then to go with that, they've also created their first preamp. They have a rack mount version, and they're even going to be making a desktop version. And in true Soyuz fashion, it has the cool, fun colors, the really nice look, simple practicality. It's not super expensive, but it's a Soyuz item, so you know it's going to be high quality with some serious killer wiring. Did not get to hear this in action. Can't wait to hear it in action, but man, from the looks and from what I know of Soyuz, I think that's going to be a slam dunk. Now, next up is the series of pedals that everyone's been talking about from NAMM. I was not about to leave them off my list because I pre-ordered them while I was standing there, and it is Game Changer pedals. Game Changer always has something cool at NAMM, and this year they did not disappoint in the slightest. They brought out 3 new pedals called the Mod series. And what these are a series of 3 pedals where you have modulation, delay, and reverb. But what's really cool is you've got these little middle pieces where you can stick a TRS cable in there and patch it kind of like you would on a modular synth to cause different parts of the effects chain to react differently with each other. So you can have almost like an envelope follower, but you can make one thing trigger another thing and create effects that I don't even think they understand all the different types of effects that are going to be made from this. I sat there for about 20 minutes watching people play with this after I got my run on it, and the sounds that I heard coming out were just so wacky and wild and crazy, and some were just beautiful, some were out there. There's so much that these can do together. I think the hard thing with these pedals is you're not going to just want one. This is one where really I think you need all 3 together so you can play with them, patch them, and really experience what they could do playing with each other. They all sounded great as a standalone pedal, don't get me wrong, but the real magic in this is having the series where you can actually patch them together and create some cool effects. I'm super excited to see what comes of this, and I promise you, I will have sound samples of this soon. I've got mine pre-ordered. The second that they come in, I will be doing a demo that week, so look forward to a demo of these in the very, very near future. Now, shortly after that, my friends over at Palen sent me on a special mission. Duessenberg's U.S. headquarters are just down the street from where the convention was being held in Anaheim. So I drove down there to check out their facility and have a little talk with them. And full disclosure, before this meeting, I have never been a giant Duessenberg guy. I am a satin broken neck kind of guy. I like my necks to be broken in, worn in, kind of raw wood, and I like bigger, thicker necks. But the thing that's always blown me away with Duessenberg is their tremolos. Their tremolos, I think, are the best tremolos in the world. I think that the engineering on them, I wish every guitar I had one, because they're so good, they're so smooth, and they just stay in tune. They're so well built. So I went there with, excitement to see the new stuff, but also just kind of like, oh, I've never really bonded with a Duessenberg. Spent about 2 hours at their shop, and I've got to say my mind is changed after seeing what they do, how they construct their guitars, and seeing the amount of quality and precision and work that goes into these, but also seeing how some of these guitars break in over time as you play them, as you age them, as they start to break in. These really are some magical guitars. But Duessenberg also understands there's a lot of guys like me that maybe they don't like a nice glossy neck. Maybe they like a satin finish neck. So they're introducing some new products. The first and probably the most exciting for me was the Falcon. The Falcon now has a matte finish that is just stunning, and they have these pickups called the Split King pickups. I will tell you, it's the same thing that they use on their lap steel series, which I also think is a phenomenal lap steel. But you can coil tap these and do some amazing single coil sounds, but then they sound like a killer, gnarly, like almost TV Jones's humbucker kind of sound when they're put into their normal use. So And I love that shape. I've always loved the Falcon shape. I thought it was really, really cool. So I was excited to see a matte finish with a broken in kind of neck feel to it. So that was my number one when I first walked in and saw that. Then I was introduced to a new series that they're working on, which are the least expensive of the Duessenbergs. They're doing this whole series of little bit smaller bodies with a nice contrasting half kind of faceplate on there. You've got tons of fun colors. I love that green color. Tom Bukovic was in and played the red one and said it was an absolute dream to play. And I got to hear a little bit of the music he played with that. And oh my gosh, it sounded so good. But then while I was there, an announcement was made and I about blew my mind. You guys know how much I love Joey Landreth. Big fan of his, but not just his music. I've been a fan of his gear. We have a very similar taste in gear. You guys know I don't play like Joey Landreth. My musical style is different, but I love the Two Rock Joey Landreth amp, and I love his fuzz pedals that have come. They sound really, really, really good. And up on the wall, I got to see the new Joey Landreth, and Joey's brother also made a bass that is phenomenal. But these two guitars, number one, just look at them. They're absolutely gorgeous. I mean, come on. What a beautiful, 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 beautiful series here. That pink is just gorgeous. The necks are amazing. The headstock is killer on there, and I love that cream binding. But the pickups are what blew me away on this. This setup with some heavy gauge strings, I think, is going to be a player's dream. I'm so excited to get to play these in person. I don't know the price point on these yet, so I can't share that with you. But I know they're working on trying to make it as good of a deal as they can. But it's going to be just absolutely phenomenal. And while I was there, I also got to visit the original place where Fender first started. And there's a mural there in the parking lot where they tore down the old building. And I realized that the pattern on that mural is the same pattern that is on my Fender Masterbuilt that Christian Abel painted. So I was super excited to get to take a picture of this and see it up close. Such an amazing mural. It was super, super fun. Now we're coming up into my final 5 things from the show. The first is I had to travel all the way across the country to see one of my good friends, David from Browne. And Browne, everyone knows the Protein. The Protein's one of the best pedals in the world. I have always loved it, had it on my board for years, but I think David might have just blown it out of the water because they've released the new Carbon X, and the Carbon X is essentially 2 of the blue side of the Protein put together. But then they took it a step further. It's not like you just stuck 2 Proteins together and turned on the blue channel on both of them. They've tweaked it, tweaked the sound, tweaked the gain structures of both sides so that they're both a little different from each other. And the way they cascade into each other was absolutely amazing. The breakup, the grit that the second stage introduces gives you this really cool grind and this really cool edge to your playing, but you can still dial it back by just playing a little bit softer. It responds to your pick attack in an amazing way that, quite frankly, I have not seen an overdrive do, and I've played a lot of different overdrives in my life. I've already got one of these on order as well. We will have it here as soon as I can, so we'll get a full demo up of this, but I think this is one of the pedals that I am most excited for after NAMM. It's just phenomenal. Phenomenal. And to go along with that, right next to his booth was my friend Tim from Cunningham. And Cunningham, you guys know I did a little demo on this, the Mark I and the Zonk machine that came out last year. And I was blown away by it. Killer pedal. But he brought his entire lineup, so I wanted to try them out. And plugged in a few of them. I was really impressed. Thought, okay, this is really, really cool. It wasn't until I got to this blue beauty right here that just absolutely blew my mind. This is his Octave fuzz pedal. And I love an Octave fuzz. You guys have heard me play it a bazillion times on my demo. I think probably my favorite one of all time is the Solid Gold Effects Lysis. It's just a killer pedal. Sounds amazing. This is the first time I've played an Octave fuzz that actually gives the Lysis a run for its money. And I wish I could have captured the sound, but all of this was being done through headphones in these booths. It was the most blooming and then instantly squished bass note I've ever heard in my life. You would play a note and it would just have this thick bass attack that would just instantly noise gate itself and squelch down and become the next note that you played. And I've never experienced an octave fuzz like this, and I really can't do this justice. I told Tim the second he gets home and he has time to build me one of these, I want to do that and I want to demo it, because this is something you have to experience. I don't think I can say enough words about it to do it justice. Genuinely one of the best pedals I've ever played, hands down, ever. And I am so excited to get this in front of you so you guys can hear it. But after hearing his pedals up close, the man can do no wrong. His entire series is just absolutely phenomenal. Now we get to our final 3 pedals. And to start these off, we're going to go back to the Hiwatt booth that we were looking at earlier, because there I met with my friend Mike from Seeker Effects. And you guys know I love Seeker Effects. I've had a ton of those on the shows before. And I've always thought that he makes the best fuzz pedals out there, because he usually takes a traditional fuzz and then expands on it, adds more knobs, adds more creativity to it. But what Mike wanted to do this year was a new series called the Origin series. And the Origin series is focused on getting back to the roots of the fuzz pedals that he knows and loves. So what he did was made a series of 5 pedals. You've got one based on a Rangemaster, a fuzz face, a Zonk machine, an old Mark I fuzz, and the Tone Bender. So those 5 pedals, all 2 knob fuzzes in small enclosures, and everything else has been tweaked on the inside to make it sound the best possible version of those 5 fuzzes that Mike could make, just to his ear what was going to sound the best. So we laid them all 5 out, plugged them into that Hiwatt I was showing you earlier, and I would have given anything if there wasn't so much noise going on. I wish you could have heard what happened right there. These are the 5 pedals that I bought on the spot from him. I was so excited about them. I really didn't think I was going to. When I first saw the announcement, I didn't think I had any reason to pick these up, because I already have several of Mike's versions of these, the more modern versions of them. But what he's captured here is managed to give you that classic traditional sound where you use your tone knob and you use your volume knob to really change the sound of the pedal rather than messing with the knobs. You just get the knob set where you want them, and then you start riding your volume knob a little bit, and you can create a whole range of tones. These do that so well and so creatively and sound so good in so many different settings. I think he just absolutely blew it out of the water with these. And all of these are in the 200 to 250 range. So when you compare that to several other companies out there that are doing reissues of traditional fuzzes with high-end components like he has, and look at the insides of these, they're insanely clean, beautiful. You can see the transistors. I mean, he does this so well for a price point that I think is super, super amazing for a truly handmade pedal. I cannot say enough good things about these. These are going to be a huge, 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 huge hit. So I cannot wait to show you more about these very soon. Now, as far as innovation goes, a lot of the things that I've shown you today are cool, but none of them were like, blow your mind, oh my gosh, somebody's revolutionizing the industry. I did not see a lot of that at NAMM. It was surprising to me. I was expecting to see a whole lot more just like absolutely new innovative ideas. But one company I think stole the show as far as innovation goes, and that is KMA Machines. KMA Machines introduced a new box called the Engame. And for those who aren't familiar with KMA, they've made a lot of really cool, they do some fuzzes that are amazing. They do a really cool pedal called the Queequeg that's a really neat modulation kind of feel. And they have a really neat routing pedal called the Tyler, which a lot of people do not understand, but for a guy like me who likes to do wet, dry, wet and do crazy routing with my signal path, the Tyler is a patcher's dream. But the Engame, I think, might be their most ambitious creative project yet. So this is so much more than a pedal. The first thing it is a stereo doubler. And so what you do is you put this at the end of your signal chain. It's designed to be right at the end of your board. And it splits your signal into 2 paths. And it doubles your sound. And there's been a lot of doublers over the years that have kind of tried to create that Queen effect that Brian May used to do all the time, where you could kind of overlay and double your signal and create a double effect. Most of the time they sound cheesy and computery and not good. This has so many levels of it. You have a knob on the pedal itself to be able to adjust the amount of doubling that you're hearing. So you can make it a real subtle effect or you can make it a really big effect. But in effect, it also increases the stereo field. So your guitar, when it starts off, when you're playing it and it's off, you're like, okay, you turn it on and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can hear it like go wider. And then you turn it off and you're like, oh, everything sounds boring now. I mean, it really was that way. You just, at first you think you sound great, and then you sound so much better that when you take it away, oh my God, like, you've lost this. So for that effect, it's amazing. But that's not all this pedal does. This pedal also has a power amp and an IR loader in it. So you can use it essentially like some of these IR loader pedals that I've been showing you over the last few years, like the Opus, even some of the stuff from like Neural. This essentially gives you that ability, but adds a power amp in there, which is something that a lot of them have not done, to give it that extra oomph and allow you to be able to plug it in direct and get a full signal out of your rig. So I think that not only will this be good for people like me that like to play on analog amps, I think people with like a Neural DSP who want to bring more life into their signal, maybe make it sound more like a tube amp, by running it into this power amp section and then adding the IRs on the back end. And yes, you can add your own IRs to this. It's not one of those where you have to use their proprietary thing. It's actually got spots for you to load in your own IRs, which I thought was really cool. Essentially, you can then take that and make any like digital program that you're using come to life and breathe new life into it and turn it into almost a tube amp like sound, having that power amp there with those IRs. And I think that's what so many IR loaders have been missing, is that power amp oomph. And I can't tell you in words how this sounds. I cannot wait to get it in so I can do a demo for you and really capture the sound so you can see how much it makes your field bloom on anything you're recording through it. I think this will work not just for guitars, but for a lot of different instruments. I'm excited to see how this plays with all sorts of different things. So kudos to KMA. They nailed this, and truly the most innovative and creative thing that I saw at NAMM. I'm super excited for this. And that brings us to number one. There were a lot of potentials for this. There's some pieces I didn't mention, just a couple honorable mentions. Third Man Records had an amazing booth. They released an awesome new triple pedal from Donner for less than $100, an absolutely steal of a value, as well as a build your own fuzz kit that looks super fun. Cream Guitars showed up with one of the coolest booths I have ever seen. This year we saw a lot of the kind of retro, crazy, futuristic kind of styles. They're like part throwback, part Jetsons kind of look to them. Cream did a great job of that. Fellows Guitars, local Missouri company, did amazing work. Their purple guitar was just, still out of this world. One of my favorite guitars I played at the show. And even Novo is doing a new series kind of inspired by that modern, futuristic look. But the guitar company that just blew it out of the water and had some of the most gorgeous guitars I've ever seen and been able to play were my friends at Cower Guitars. Now, I do not say this lightly. I'm not just saying it because Doug's my friend. The guitars this year were out of this world. First of all, look at the 3-color pink guitars. I mean, those just instantly caught your eye. It was hilarious. Just standing around talking to Doug, the amount of people who came over because they were walking down the hall and they saw that bright pink sparkle and it brought them in. And I watched them walk through the boutique guitar showcase, which, I mean, we're talking boutique guitar showcase. When you walked into this area, you were just surrounded with some of the most lavish and expensive guitars you've ever seen. And they're all beautiful works of art in their own right. But people were just walking right past all of them and heading straight to Doug's booth to pick up one of those pink guitars. And I think that speaks volumes to the impact that these had. But the Gripen model, which was his new model that launched there, and actually his son helped him develop it, and his son calls it the Geode. So I'm going to call it the Geode because I think Max is right. This totally looks like a fractured Geode. I dig it, Max. You nailed this. don't listen to your dad. It's called the Geode, not the Gripen. No, this thing is amazing. It's got that kind of like classic metal rock look to it, but also being futuristic in its own design, and just every little part of the curves. And even though it's chunkier and squarer, when you actually put it on, it's very ergonomic. It feels really good against your body. So super impressed by that. I knew I was going to like that shape, but what blew me away was Josh, who is an amazing, amazing painter and working for Doug now, has done this artwork and is truly, I think, the future of KMA guitars. I think you're going to see a lot more of these. These are works of art in and of themselves that are playable, and the paint job on this is spectacular. I love the look. I love the print. I love the way that it's sprayed. Everything about this, just classy. That electro liner, I wanted to take that home so bad. It was so comfy to play, such a gorgeous sound. And then with those looks to boot, oh my gosh, like I can't wait to see what else they're able to do with this. I'm just so amazed by the work, the fit, the finish, everything. I've worked with Doug for a lot of years, and I genuinely believe this may be the top of his game. He has got an amazing team around him, a wonderful staff. He's a pain in the butt to take a picture with, because every 5 seconds I tried to get a snap with him and Josh, somebody else came up to ask a question about those P guitars, so I could never get him alone for 2 seconds. But it was so much fun. We had a blast, and I just think these guitars are going to be truly, truly some of the best that he's ever produced. All right, thank you so much for bearing with me from an incredibly long episode today. I know this is longer than my standard format, but I wanted to share with you some of these finds from NAMM. I'm so excited about them. Most of these you will be seeing a close-up video over the next year. As soon as these come in, I'll be doing some hardcore demos on them, really deep diving into each one of them and showing you the sounds rather than just teasing you with some pictures and talking you through it. But I just wanted you to be aware of them, and I genuinely will stand behind any of these products. I truly believe they are all going to be great from what I heard. So I would definitely, if any of these entice you, get on their pre-order list and get your name down on these, because I do think these were some of the best in show products that I've seen this year. Next week, we're actually going to be digging into a new amplifier as well, and maybe even a couple of new pedals. Next week, we're actually going to be taking a look at one other thing from NAMM. I brought home a new pedal with me, and this is the new Expandora series. And I have an original Expandora. We're going to put that up against this one and see how they compete with each other. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so please join us back next week for that. We'll see how that goes. And then in the future weeks, we'll be touching on a lot of these, trying out some new products and a couple of new pedals, and hear more of how Aria and I's songwriting is coming. So thank you so much for coming out this week, and thank you again to my friends at Palen for sending me out to the show. It was so much fun. It was so eye-opening. I enjoyed it a ton. Hope to do more of these for y'all in the future. Please go give them a like, and if you get a chance, hop over to my Instagram. I'm going to be posting a lot more of the photos and the content from my trip to NAMM over on my Instagram at What's This Button Do Dustin. Hop over there. You'll be able to see some of it. I'll have some more video footage and just some more things that I've taken while I was at the trip. So I hope to see you over there as well. Thank you so much for coming this week. Look forward to seeing you soon. Take care and have a wonderful week.